All right, so this is Scott. We're talking about the movie. Ben?
Yep, this is Ben. We're going to be talking about Scott.
This is TJ. I'm Test. Damn
it. Hey everyone, my name is Scott.
Hey, it's Ben.
Yo, what's up? It's TJ.
And this is a review. On today's episode, which may or may not be the second episode, it might be the first episode, it might be the third episode, we don't know. But we'll be talking about Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, which you know, because that's what the title says on the URL, which you clicked on to watch this video, which is just audio. Anyway, so basically this movie, if you've seen the original Jumanji, you know, it's about a kid that finds a game and gets affected by the game. I guess he doesn't get sucked. Oh, he does get sucked into the game in the original movie.
Well, after he...
Depends which kid you're talking about in the original movie. Also, spoilers for the original movie.
Yeah.
Spoilers for a 30-year-old...
Y'all been around since 95?
20-year-old movie.
Hope so.
So, basically, minor spoilers for this new Jumanji for the setup. A kid in 1996... is given the original Jumanji board game by his father, and he's
found it on the beach.
Found on the beach, which is where they buried it in the original Jumanji. Mm-hmm. And the kid is like, I play video games, it's the 90s, so he doesn't play it. And then we learn the best, most interesting thing ever about Jumanji, that it is apparently a Lovecraftian creature that exists. Jumanji exists. It's not just a board game.
It has some degree of sentience.
Yes. And it in the morning the boy opens up Jumanji and it's a video game. It's like an Atari game. And so that's the setup is now when you play the Jumanji game on your video game Atari thing, you get sucked in.
Cued by 2018's version of the Wonder Woman theme song, those classic Jumanji drums.
It's awesome. You know the drums, and you will be excited when you hear them. So, 20 years later, modern times, we have our cast of 4 kids: Spencer, Fridge, Bethany, and Martha. And they're high school kids. They all get detention, and then they get sucked into Jumanji quite literally. And the movie takes place from there. And I gotta say, guys, I'm pleasantly surprised. I had a hell of a lot of fun with Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle.
Yeah, no, this is definitely one of the more earnest and, like, wholehearted, like, family action comedies. Like, this feels very nostalgic in a lot of ways. Like, this is a movie that really doesn't get made anymore as far as, like, an uncynical, just, like, sort of fun continuation of, like, a franchise that doesn't feel like a weak cash grab.
In general, I liked it. I think this is the most fun I've had in the movies in a long time in terms of just like a fun adventure film.
Yeah.
And like, it's kind of like we were talking about on the way home. You can kind of have a little bit, there's like dirty jokes in it. There's something for everyone in this movie.
Yeah, it's a movie that is...
It's hard to pull off.
Yeah.
It's a movie that's comprised of bad stereotypes. The kids are... You've got the geeky kid, you've got the football jock, you've got the slutty girl, and you got the nerdy girl that's withdrawn. And they're all very, very basic stereotypes. But once they're in the video game and they're being played by these good actors, you got Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, Kevin Hart, Jack Black, and Karen Gillan, who you guys might know as Nebula from Guardians of the Galaxy previously, Amy Pond on Doctor Who. Mm-hmm. And just seeing these actors play these bad stereotypes is kind of funny, and it kind of works. So it all kind of comes together in a neat way.
Yeah, well, a fun thing that the film sort of does is, like, where it could have got stuck in, like, the really ridiculous tropes, it remixes them with the body swap element. That's one of the things that I think they actually did fairly well, is like this movie does work as like one of the, like, a Freaky Friday level, really kind of fun body swap film, like a lot of those classic tropes where the nerdy guy is all of a sudden literally The Rock, and like he like is sort of like adapting to like his new like body. It's sort of like this funny sort of like thing, and like they all play on those stereotypes and they're able to like milk them for the most of the movie. Like the shtick does not really get old because they evolve and develop them beyond this really foundational service level thing where they'd be super cookie cutter.
You know what really works for me in terms of the body swapping? I was worried based on the trailers that the Jack Black one with the Bethany character would be old fast.
Yes.
It surprisingly did not. It was probably like my favorite of them because the other, like the one with The Rock, is kind of like what you would assume, like, but so is the Bethany one. But it just didn't get old for me, and it was continually kind of funny and like. Well, it's like Jack Black.
Damn, that is a man right there. Don't cry, don't cry. Don't cry, it's gonna be okay.
It's nuanced, like you said, with the whole body swap elements, which is not a thing that you come into this movie necessarily expecting. The only one, and I've already ragged on this guy a little bit, that doesn't seem like he's playing a character is Kevin Hart. He really feels like he's just Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
Right.
He screams a lot in a high-pitched voice and talks about how he's short.
Oh, well, I don't have the top 2 feet of my body.
Yeah.
Which is played off because his character, his high school counterpart, is tall jock, but that's what Kevin Hart does in every movie. Like, he's always the short guy. Like, that's just what he does.
The game is what you're gonna get. You wanna play? Said, let him go.
Said drag. What are you doing? Oh, okay? Get up.
So embarrassing.
To a degree, he is also by far the worst written of the ensemble as well. He's essentially stereotypical big dumb jock in the real world, and then it evolves into Kevin Hart doing his basic Kevin Hart shtick, but then just spouting facts that like serve his character's like strengths. Like that's all he really does for the whole movie. Otherwise, he's just there to be Kevin Hart. He doesn't change.
He's stagnant.
Yeah, let's be honest, guys. They named this character Fridge.
Yeah, his name is Fridge, which is short for refrigerator, I think.
Common household appliance. Yeah.
Is it just me, or did at some point they give him a real name, or is my brain just like they had to have said a real name at some point? Like,
if they did, I didn't remember.
But shouldn't Spencer? That's the main kid, right?
Yeah.
At some point, shouldn't he have to like be like a man and stand up like he's
like,
supposed to in his art, call him by his real
your
name
real
instead
name.
of Fridge?
And, and like have it be where it's like actually an embarrassing name that only he would know, like fucking
Clarence.
Yeah, or
exactly.
Dare, like
To be fair, none of us actually remember if that happened.
No, we're harping on it as if we know for fact, but all we know is we hope that was in there, and we redact this if it was.
Right. But then Fridge... So basically, Fridge and Spencer end up in detention because they get caught cheating because Spencer wrote his paper. But then Fridge has the audacity to be angry at Spencer. Sorry, let me call him by his full name. Refrigerator has the audacity to be angry with Spencer for doing his homework for him.
He's kind of like, you really half-assed my homework.
they give the faculty a good bit of credit. They went back and like cross-referenced these old papers. It's actually a fairly like they did their homework. They got snooped out. There was a diligent staff.
They just used
grading those
Turnitin.com.
papers.
Come on.
And
Diligent Snoop.
Right, but it kind of it sets up this dynamic that's like
very
they were friends, but they never seem like friends. It always seems like Fridge is just using Spencer. It never feels like they used to be friends.
He has no character growth until the end when he's already kicked off the football team and by default is now friends with the people he just went through a life-changing experience with.
It's like, I guess I'll change.
Yeah.
However, though, the girls, Bethany, a.k.a. Jack Black, and Martha, Karen Gillan, have really great chemistry together as the Jack Black and Karen Gillan counterparts, who we never said their full names. I don't remember. It's like
Brittany and they're avatars.
Their avatars. Like Dwayne Johnson is smoldering Dr. Bravestone, and they all have nicknames. Kevin Hart is Mouse. He thinks he's Moose when he picks the character, but he's actually Mouse.
Dr. Shelley is Jack Black.
Dr. Shelley, the curvy genius, is Jack Black. And then
Ruby Roundhouse.
The man killer, is the geeky girl.
Expert dance fighter.
Yeah, an expert dance fighter.
Right. And they have like a character sheet. So it honestly, it's a weird mixture. The video game world of Jumanji is a weird mixture of like an old video game and like Dungeons and Dragons, where like all your characters have like a character sheet. Oh, my character can't eat cake. He eats cake, he explodes. You know, they all have different weaknesses and strengths that they have to use to get through the world of Jumanji.
Yeah, and one of the things that actually works fairly well in this game is this movie is that they do a good job of making it feel like a game, but not like fully committing. They do a good job of making it feel like organically, like we're in the game, but we're seeing it live action, but it still has like video game elements, like fairly realistically, like injected into it. It doesn't feel like super digital. Like they do a good job of having it feel more environmental.
It's a lot like Scott Pilgrim, which is like it's organically just in the world. You kind of figure out the rules as you go along, which is a really nice mix. And it like we've all called it a game instead of a movie, at least once during this review. So it's like obviously it does a good job of doing that because we think of it as watching a game, which is one of the really fun elements of the movie. And it really it manages to kind of parallel the original Jumanji by having these new challenges along the way that kind of mysteriously appear in front of our heroes as it goes along.
The thing that really sold the world for me as a video game is when they're using the spawn in their advantage.
Right.
Like, he pushes Kevin Hart out of the thing and sacrifices him. Spoilers, obviously, the whole time. It's a review. But he sacrifices him, but then they catch him using the spawn points like as a smart video game move.
Yeah,
right. But it's all shown through an organic world while you're with these characters on the adventure. So it pulls it off in this much more like subtle, organic way.
Yeah.
Where Scott Pilgrim, and it's still like on the head a little bit. And Scott Pilgrim's one of my favorite movies ever. But Scott Pilgrim really like hammers in those effects in the like video game with the coins and the thousands.
Right. Well, it's the difference of in Scott Pilgrim, that's the world they live in, and it doesn't seem odd to anybody that he kills somebody and they turn into coins. Whereas in Jumanji, they're self-aware that they're in a game.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you're figuring out the rules to the game with them as we go through the movie. So they're learning things just with they have 3 tattoos on our arm, that means we have 3 lives. Yeah. And then when you die, you respawn. So it's all the rules of a video game kind of presented along the way. We kind of figure that out. It's great. They have NPCs, Reese, I don't know. Murray from Flight of the Conchords. You guys know him. He's a New Zealander actor. He's really funny. He's like the opening NPC, and he kind of introduces them to Jumanji and tells them their goal. And they kind of meet NPCs, non-player characters along the way that kind of lead them along that are kind of robotic acting, and that's very fun.
And they do a great job of integrating all that stuff, but also what could have really been hard-nosed, kind of like boring exposition, they give it this charm because we're along with the characters and we're really there in the moment with them, and we're learning these things too. So it certainly softens the blow of being like, we're explaining everything the audience needs to know because we are with the characters. Right. And they do a really good job of. It's a very complete between the performance and like how like it's being written. You really sort of buy into like we are with these. We're just aligned really well, and like what could have been really stupid and like kind of base.
Yeah. Right. You know what else? I was really worried that we were going to spend too much time with the kids in the real world.
They get past them quick.
They get past them real quick, and everything they do with them, like I was like, cool. I like this works for me. Like they timed that well. Yeah, where that could have been a huge flub for the movie.
Yeah. Well, and that so I think we've all been talking pretty positive about this, and that'll kind of transition us into the negatives. Or I will say that the kid actors. The fortunate thing is they're not on much, but they're not very good. I thought the kid actors are pretty bad. I mean, I think a lot of it's their scripts that they have written is they're very, we kind of touched on this before, they're very generic characters. Bethany, the Jack Black character, is constantly talking about Instagram and, I'm on my phone. It's very...
Her Sony phone.
It's very... Oh, yeah, Sony. It's a Sony phone.
Fridge has the Sony headset, too.
Which... those definitely would not have been Beats guys. They
No.
would be Sony.
But I found them stereotypical to the point of being cloying and irritating. Like, they were all so, like, such their character types, they were irritating. Like, oh, I'm the nerdy guy.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm the jock. I'm this. And, oh, I don't care about anything. I'm the nerd. And it's like they were all very, like, very, very black and white. There was no depth to them at all.
But fortunately, we're given that depth in the game
characters,
portion.
yes.
So in a way, it's actually kind of an intelligent piecing together.
It
like,
is.
Yeah.
They were just give them like this. They were almost going to run it to the point where we acknowledge that these are like cookie cutter characters. Don't worry,
Right.
we'll take care of them.
But it's
and
also-
they mostly do, besides Kevin Hart. And
Right. It's also the fact that you have, except for Kevin Hart, the bolstering performance of good actors. Like,
Yeah.
once
Right.
it goes back to the kids at the end again, it's like, we're back with the kids.
But
But
once
again,
again, for not very long.
it's like
For
the
not
perfect
very
way.
long.
Very
It's
long.
a very satisfying little epilogue.
That's
It's
true.
definitely more of a bookend than anything else.
That's
Yeah.
true.
You know?
You definitely get less of a sense of the kids as characters than you do as the avatars, which is good and bad. Like I said, you spend, like these guys said, you spend most of the time with the avatars. But it would have been nice, because we have Stranger Things, we have It, we have things where we like the kid actors. It'd be nice to have the kid actors supporting the other actor, the big actors as well.
To
as
be
they
of
do,
that
yeah.
level that we've seen kids be able to
Yeah.
be at in
Well-
other big media this year. Or like Logan, too.
Yeah, Logan,
Right.
the girl from
But
Logan.
these are
yeah.
older kids also.
Yeah.
Those are all those examples.
Or
It,
younger.
Stranger Things,
Yeah.
Logan are all younger.
Florida Project.
Florida
So it gives them
Project.
less excuse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm just saying you guys are almost giving them too much credit in your
That's true.
harping.
But yeah, you're right. You're right about that.
Well, I will say Alex Wolff is infinitely more tolerable than fucking Nat Wolff. Like,
So we have, he's a,
he
I didn't know
decidedly
this.
does not suck.
He's a Naked Brother band member.
Former Naked Brother. That
He's
show,
a Naked Brother.
Yeah.
And he's in the movie. He's one of the kids, right?
Yeah, he's Spencer.
Yeah.
He's Spencer,
Yeah.
Dwayne Johnson.
He's our lead.
But also, another boy band, we have Nick Jonas.
Nick
is in the film,
Jonas.
Yeah.
who he plays, we mentioned earlier, the kid in the 90s that gets sucked into the Jumanji from the get-go. He's basically the Robin Williams of this film.
Basically, yeah.
Basically, yeah.
He's the
The
same
guy
as the
who's
parallel
embedded in the like
in the world.
The world.
Yeah.
That's right.
So yeah, like I said, the other negatives really,
the OG Alan Parrish.
yeah,
The new school Alan.
the new Alan Parrish, which
Yeah.
they do have a very subtle Easter egg to Alan Parrish, which was nice, subtle nod to
Tastefully
Robin
done.
Williams.
Yeah,
Yeah, they didn't
very
shove
nice.
it down your throat.
Yep.
But yeah, the only other real negatives that I have for this, the CGI was pretty bad. The Jaguars at the end,
The Jaguars were a little rough.
they looked real bad.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's towards the end of post production. You're a little lower on money. At
But it's
that
their
point.
finale.
I know.
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
know.
they looked really bad. Some of the others, some of the like stunts, like when they would jump, like when Dwayne Johnson or Karen Gillan would backflip or jump
Yeah.
extra high, it looked kind of fake.
That's a good segue of like, you could definitely tell this wasn't a true action director. Like there are some flourishes
Yeah,
in this movie, but like there were definitely sequences where I'm like, if this held to make a real like established action filmmaker, they could have been a lot more like this could have been gone from like pretty good to very good. Just
right.
Yeah, but I wonder if an action director would have been able to do the performance of the
Exactly.
tricky body switch, because that comedy,
That
that
takes a
irony
comedy
of that
veteran,
is
yeah.
literally the whole movie for me.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
watching them play off each other.
it's true.
The director is Jake Kasdan, who directed such hits as he directed a lot of episodes of Freaks and Geeks. He did Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story, which we all think is hilarious. Bad Teacher with Cameron Diaz, which was surprisingly funny. Sex Tape, The Grinder, some other TV shows, New Girl. So yeah, he's done some good stuff. But yeah, like Ben said, it's not an action director, it's all comedy. But I do think that the strength of this movie is the characters. So I think that was kind of the right way to go. And the fact that we had such strong characters and good writing, it made the
Carried
kind
us
of
through.
yeah, the kind of awkward action and bad CGI was background for what was ostensibly a better story.
Yeah, it makes
that
it a
we
lot
were
more
expecting.
palatable.
Yes, absolutely. So I agree that I didn't think the lack of good action or even the CGI was too big of a hit against the movie. I'm just pointing out that it definitely, those areas were a little rougher. Cinematography was okay. There was some decent, I don't love jungle movies, but it looked decent. There was some interesting stuff. And I think we're ready for final thoughts here, guys. You guys ready for final thoughts? So, Ben, final thoughts.
This was a very surprisingly well-made action comedy that, you would think, just like, what are they actually going to do with it? Like, is this actually going to be good? Or is it just like a nostalgia cash grab? And it turns out to be a really well-acted and interesting, fun movie that I think was actually one of the more pleasant experiences I've had in the theater this year. This is an uncynically, purely well-made, fun action comedy that, I thoroughly enjoyed.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said completely. Fun is definitely the best word to describe this movie. TJ, final thoughts.
Yo, I gotta say, if you have a family, this is the movie to go see. This has been probably the best well-rounded family comedy to come out in years. Totally kind of reminds me of, like, the feeling you'd see if, like, when I saw Shrek with my family as a little kid.
Sure.
Everyone had something in it, and it was like, whoa, that was an animated movie. And this is a movie I kind of scoffed at initially before we saw it. Not today, because I had heard some good things, and people were like, yo, you'll like this movie, and I didn't expect that. Mm-hmm. So when it finally turned out it was positive, I was excited to see it, and not let down. I had a good time, and I said go check it out.
I think the thing I can echo with what you said the most, TJ, is the fact that I was expecting this to be trash. And I love the original Jumanji. I know that that's probably a nostalgia thing. It's a trash movie. Like, talk about bad CGI. CGI in the original Jumanji is just mind-numbingly awful. But this movie managed to capture the spirit of the original one. It had a good reason to kind of transition from board game to video game, and it was just fun all around. Like I said, I think there was some pacing issues along the way we didn't really talk about. I think the beginning half of this movie is wonderful. The setup is great, everything. I think the kids suck, but they're out of the way quickly. We get into the world of Jumanji. We figure out that's great. The second half of the movie drags a little bit, but it's still pretty fun. And there's just so many little pleasant surprises in the writing that's just funny throughout the movie that keeps you entertained. The characters build. So, yeah, I had a blast with this. It's not something that I'll probably remember in years to come as much as I do the original one, but it's definitely a worthy sequel, and I recommend it. I give it a solid 7 mosquito bites out of 10. And, go see it. If you don't get a chance to see it in the theater, rent it. It's worth watching. You should definitely check it out.
For sure.
Can I give it 8 exploding Kevin Harts due to cake?
Yes, that's 8 exploding Kevin Harts from TJ and Ben.
I would give it 7.5 angry white rhinos.
All right, so I think on average we come out to about a 7.5 here, and that's good. I think it's an above average review. And hey, this has been a review. I'm Scott.
I'm Ben.
I'm Tej.
Thanks for listening.